everybody, and welcome back to the United Stand. We have loads to discuss on today's 2 p.m. show, as it will take a record bid, a world record bid, to secure Carlos Baleba at Manchester United for Ruben Amorim's midfield rebuild. Well, I think the missing piece to his midfield. Should Manchester United still continue with it? Will we be able to get this over the line? Will add-ons help us? How do you think Manchester United should approach this? The thing is, what's really exciting is that Manchester United know that Brighton won a world record bid, yet they're still entering the race. They've entered the race. There's still continuing conversations. They are still putting their best efforts forward. Have we got some sort of structure that is going to turn Brighton's eye and secure us this deal? It's going to be big money, but how are Manchester United going to structure it? We've seen how the new team handle transfers a little bit differently. The wages of Carlos Baleba are going to save us some money. I do still feel like this deal is in the realm of possibilities, but Manchester United are going to have to big bid, and we've got some news coming in around that I will bring you the figure that Brighton wants. Also, Donnarumma, Manchester United could be priced out of that deal, as news is coming out that until we shift some players, Højlund, Garnacho, Sancho, who we have some news on as well, that deal is too expensive for Manchester United. Some might say it's only 26 million that Paris Saint-Germain won, but he wants 250 grand a week. Carlos Baleba's on 12.5 grand a week. Then wages, agent fees do end up adding up. We've got some news on Jadon Sancho as well. Inter have entered the race for Jadon Sancho. Is it finally time that he leaves Manchester United? I mean, the season kicks off this week. By the way, everyone, happy Premier League week. I am absolutely buzzing that the Premier League is back, and we've actually made some good transfers to kick off the Premier League season. Will Sesko start? Will Sesko start against Arsenal? I'm actually thinking he might do, especially now we know about the behind closed door friendlies. He's been speaking in his first ever Manchester United interview, and we've got some really interesting quotes from him to bring in. We've honestly got loads to talk about. We have also Andre Onana's back. He's back in training. He's going to be ready for the first day of the season. Would you start him? Speaking about a goalkeeper, Andre Onana is probably going to start our season, and I think he's going to end up staying. Thoughts on that? Want to bring in a little bit about the Baleba stuff and the fees and what it takes to actually bring in a player of this calibre, because players of this calibre have gone in the market before, and they've all gone for that 100 million mark is what it's going to take around. In this day and age, that is what players are going for. I've got Declan Rice up, I've got Jude Bellingham up, I've got Caicedo up, and Baleba is going to fall into that category. Yes, we're launching it a little bit early because he's only 21. He's had 2 seasons in the Premier League. Are we taking too much of a risk? If you've seen this guy play, if you've seen his man of the match performance against Man City, if you've seen him play across that last season in the Premier League, I mean, people had their eyes on him in his first season, but last season, he absolutely ripped it up. He's still got areas to improve. He absolutely does. He's not the finished article, but the potential is absolutely huge, and I would love Manchester United to do this deal. I said it a few shows, not even a few shows ago, a few months ago. I said a few months ago because I just did not think it was in the realm of possibilities that we would go for the attackers that we would go for, a new front three, and Baleba in the same window. That I said I think we don't go for a midfielder this summer, and I think Baleba is our Caicedo, our Declan Rice next year when we focus on the midfield. But Ineos, I think they're worried about losing Champions League football for another year in a row and think, let's just go for it. Let's put our next year's summer window in this year's summer window. I mean, Cunha's gone on last year's books. So Cunha actually doesn't count towards this summer's books because he's gone on last year. Baleba, they might be planning to do it next summer, but they've moved it forward because it's going to go on the same year. It's interesting how it works out, but this is what it's going to take. So it's coming that the record for the biggest transfer in history for an African player will be broken by Carlos Baleba. This is coming in from African sources. A fee of 112 million is being discussed behind the scenes. 112 million. That is what is being put out there for Carlos Baleba, and Brighton won the biggest transfer in history for an African player. Well, he's 21 years old. That is a lot of money. I don't understand where Manchester United how they would pull this off after we've signed Cunha for around 65 million and Bumo for around 65 million and Benjamin Sesko for just over 66 million, plus add-ons as well. Add-ons for Mbeumo, add-ons for Sesko. I don't know how Man United would pull this off. Garnacho would have to go. Is this an indication of why they're absolutely pushing Rasmus out the door? I mean, I saw Goalkeeper speak about it the other day on a show, and he said he wants to have 2 strikers, and he thinks, you know, Højlund's young potential, Benjamin Sesko's the starter, but you can't just have Sesko, and Rasmus should be there as a backup. What if Sesko gets injured? He can't play every minute. Joshua Zirkzee, maybe some people do see more as a number 10. I'm not being funny. As much as I do think Rasmus was dealt a bad hand, and I do still think there's potential in that player, if it means getting Carlos Baleba into Manchester United, I'm also doing what Manchester United are doing and trying to facilitate an exit for Rasmus Højlund. If that money could somehow contribute to getting Carlos Baleba over the line, I'm also kind of having that conversation with him saying, you're probably not going to get any minutes, Rasmus. You need to go and get minutes somewhere else. And it's tough, it's harsh. Amorim likes the player and he's liked behind the scenes, but he's not been good enough now. You know, for 2 years. His first year, it's harsh to judge him on. He's just coming into the Premier League. His second year, and he actually looked promising. His second year was really, really poor. It aligned with Manchester United's season. United were 15th, and Rasmus probably played like a 15th place striker in the Premier League, if not. You know, people were debating whether he'd get into the relegated sides. Like, he was that poor. So it might be harsh because he didn't have a great team behind him. But if that can somehow facilitate Baleba coming in, the fee that we get from Chelsea is so important. It really is. Garnacho leaving, Anthony leaving. Who knows if we'll get anything from last year, and that can contribute towards it. And also, Man United might be thinking to themselves, look, Chelsea look super strong. I watched Chelsea against Milan yesterday. They look strong. Liverpool against Palace was a really strong game. Palace looked strong, never mind Liverpool. Arsenal, you know, Victor Gyökeres scored after everyone was kind of sussing him out a little bit, including myself. He's looking like he's getting up to speed a little bit. They're looking better now. Man City are linked to Rodrigo today. Savinho going to Tottenham, Grealish going to Everton. I mean, McAtee's going. They're actually looking to go and get Rodrigo. That is Pep Guardiola's dream target, and City might actually be able to pull that off. The top teams are running away with it, and United don't want to get left behind. It's so obvious if you watch Manchester United's pre-season games that where we're lacking now massively is the midfield. And as much as we need a goalkeeper, and I will get into the Donnarumma news in a minute, in the pre-season, did you ever think, oh, the goalkeepers really cost us that game? I know Onana wasn't playing, but, you know, Bayindir and Tom Heaton played. Did you ever think the goalkeeper really cost us that game? The goalkeepers didn't really stand out to me much in pre-season. What did stand out to me is that Amorim can't find someone to play next to Bruno Fernandes, who is going to play, who is his star man. We need to find someone to do it. Carlos Baleba is the best of the best, I think, is an all-round midfielder that we can bring in, that has age on his side, he has potential, he's a ball winner, he's a great dribbler, he can get forward, he progresses the ball well, he's all action, he's super physically fit, he's energetic, he covers all bases, and he'd be brilliant with Kobbie Mainoo as well, so he can work with both Bruno and Mainoo. So I think United are thinking, while every other team is strengthening, we need to catch up, and that midfield, if we're going to do it, let's do it right. And I've said this over and over again. Look what happened with Donny van der Beek. Look what, you know, is potentially going to happen with Ugarte. I mean, don't get me wrong, I really like Ugarte. But is he a starter now? Like, is he, if we really need another midfielder? Like, he's a really good squad player, and I'm actually happy that he plays for us, and I think some of the stick he gets is unfair. But we originally wanted João Neves, who is a Champions League winner and absolutely phenomenal. If you don't buy right, you buy twice. That's the motto I go with. If you don't buy right, you buy twice. I mean, I'm moving into my new house next week, and I'm looking at carpets, I'm looking at flooring, I'm looking at doors, I'm looking at all these things. I'm like, this is adding up. I'm getting the phone to Goldbridge. I need a pay rise here. You know, stuff adds up. But I'm thinking, I don't want to go for cheap flooring. I don't want to go for cheap carpet, because I want my house to be nice, and I want it to last. I want it to have longevity. I want to feel good when I walk in there. I don't want to think maybe a year down the line, oh, do you know what? I'm probably going to have to upgrade this carpet now because I went cheap. If you don't buy right, you buy twice. And yes, Carlos Baleba is going to be very, very expensive, but you are getting top of the tree. You are getting a very, very good player that is going to make a huge difference to Manchester United and massively suits what Amorim is trying to do. So, anyway, guys, get your comments in the chat. Let me know what you think. What I will put out there is that he's only 21 years old. A lot of top teams have these midfielders that come in for a big chunk of money. I know it's not the same position completely, but it's still a young midfielder that is extremely talented. Obviously has more to his game when he did make that move to Real Madrid. But Jude Bellingham went from Dortmund to Real Madrid for £115 million with add-ons. Caicedo, £115 million to Chelsea. Yes, they overpaid, but that's a Brighton midfielder. Baleba's the next Caicedo, £115 million. Declan Rice to Arsenal, £105 million. But nobody speaks about all three of their transfer prices, even though they're absolutely off the scale. Even though they're all over 100 million, you don't hear every single week, I can't believe Arsenal paid 105 million for Declan Rice. I can't believe Chelsea paid 115 for Caicedo. What were Real Madrid doing paying 115 million for Jude Bellingham? Because they all live up to the price tag. They've all had a massively positive effect on their teams. And that's what Baleba will do for us. If you buy someone who doesn't live up to it, like Anthony didn't, like, Lukaku didn't, you're going to hear about it over and over and over again. Because we structured them deals wrong, we overpaid. If you actually pay for a player that improves you, helps your team and goes on to be a top midfielder, the price isn't talked about and it'll be worth it because you get 100 million for getting into the Champions League. And that is generally what Baleba could be. Baleba could be the difference of getting into the Champions League because we're not getting into the Champions League without bringing a midfielder in, a good midfielder in, and I tell you that. I'm happy with what we've done. I'm happy with Cunha and Mbeumo. I'm very happy with Sesko as well. But we have a gaping hole in our midfield and it needs solving. And you might as well go and get the best person to do it who has brilliant longevity. I wouldn't do 100 million though. And I will talk about that in a second. Pablo says, I'd give him Old Trafford to get rid of Onana. Tushar says, we can't pay anything more than 80 mil and that is too much. Rail are only asking 100 million euros for Rodrigo. Maybe this 112 million is absurd. Mojo says, Anthony Garnacho, Sancho leaving should be enough to fund Baleba. We should keep Hoyland. The thing, in an ideal world, I probably would, if money wasn't an object, I'd maybe keep Hoyland for one more season just to see what you can do with Cunha and Mbeumo, because I do feel like he's not, maybe he's not had the best development and the best journey at United and he's not been dealt the best hand. However, we're not in that situation. It is a cutthroat business right now and we need to get back to the top. Remember, United are playing one game a week. They're playing one game a week. We've not got Europe. Benjamin Sesko is going to be our starting striker. He's going to play the majority of the minutes. He's got a good injury record. People are forgetting about Joshua Zirkzee. Joshua Zirkzee was a lot better than Rasmus Højlund when he was fit last season. Joshua Zirkzee would have started that Europa League final if he was fit. When he came on, there was a big difference, even though he was not even fully fit. Joshua Zirkzee will get minutes. We've had Ben Jacobs on the show say that Ruben Amorim prefers Joshua Zirkzee as a more versatile option, and the coaching staff have a really, big feeling that he's going to do great things this season. He's going to kick on even further. So Joshua Zirkzee is going to play up front. He's not going to play in the number 10s, I don't think, that much. You have Mbeumo, you have Cunha, you have Ahmad who can play there, you have Bruno who can play there, you have Mason Mount, who's doing really well with that competition. Was fantastic against Fiorentina, I thought, and looked good as well against Everton when he came on. So Zirkzee, I think, is going to play up front. And with Dorgu and Ahmad running in behind, I think that'll work. Højlund's not going to get many minutes in this United team. And if there's money on the table, there's money on the table. You've got to go for it. But I agree, 112 million is too much for Baleba. But I think United could do something where they pay 80 million and then maybe they've got 15 million in add-ons in there. Or, think about it, even if you pay 80 million, which is a big, big fee, look at the other players, Rice, Caicedo, all over 100 million. If you pay 80 million, you put some add-ons in there, you pay instalments, you amortise that over a 5-6 year contract, and you can sell Garnacho for 50 million, who is pure profit. You get money in for Rashford next season if he keeps doing well at Barcelona. That could be 35 million coming in of pure profit. You can make that money back. If he gets you into the Champions League, you've got to hope it works. If you amortise the fee and you pay an initial instalment of 25-30 million, and you amortise that fee over the course of number of years over his contract, it'll be completely worth it. If he has the impact that I think he will have, which is Champions League football, seriously competing, it'll be worth that fee. Plus, he's going to have resale value because he's only 21, and his contract isn't going to be big. I think he comes in on max 100 grand a week. He's on 12.5 grand a week right now. I don't think his contract will be big as well. So you're saving money on wages that you'd pay. Like Declan Rice is going to be on big wages. Bellingham's on huge wages. Caicedo will be on decent wages. You'll save a bit of money on the wages with Carlos Baleba, to my understanding anyway. Ahmad Almani says, having options in the midfield like Bruno, Mainoo, Ugarte and Baleba, I also guess Casemiro, these are good options and rotation in midfield. I mean, if Baleba comes in, you do worry about the minutes of an Ugarte. I mean, I don't think Casemiro would really get anything there, to be honest with you. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it's balanced. Like I said, we're only playing one game a week. Obviously, we've got cup games as well, which we have to do well in, but he needs to get a settled team. Anyway, let's move on to the goalkeeper situation. You can keep the comments coming in about Baleba. It's going to take a big bid. I don't think United are going to pay 112 million. I don't even think we'll pay 100 million. However, you could structure a deal that isn't as much money as what you think. If you do the instalments, if you have a low wage, if you have add-ons, you could end up getting a good deal out of it. But on paper, it's like near enough 90 million. But what you're actually paying and the way that you're paying it, it's like a long-term investment. It's like investing into stocks and shares. That's how I see it with Baleba. It's like investing into stocks and shares that are just going to rise. And okay, you're putting a bit of money in now, but over the course of a number of years, what you're going to get back is going to greatly outweigh the investment that you're putting in now. But on the Donnarumma thing, we have it coming in from Han Aj Fjord that a deal for Donnarumma is seen as expensive and won't happen before the club sell players. This guy was really good on the Benjamin Sesko stuff. He's mentioned a little bit about Baleba as well, and he's now saying a deal for Donnarumma is seen as expensive and it won't happen before the club sell players. Well, I think our priority will be Baleba. I've already said that. I think it should be Baleba. I said on the show on Friday, do not get me wrong. If you can get Donnarumma, you've got to go and attack the market and go and try and get him. I know people have a few qualms about maybe his attitude and behavioural issues, but he's one of the best keepers in the world. He's absolutely top draw. He's fantastic, and our keeper situation is bleak. It's not good. It's really not. It's a weak area of the pitch. But our midfield has stood out to me as more of an issue in pre-season than the keeper has. Onana's back in training. There's a few training pictures of him going round. Let's see how that develops. But as of now, I really do think things will probably be quite cool on the keeper, and I think we're going to prioritise that midfielder. And I think it's the right thing to do, to be honest with you. And bear in mind, Donnarumma wants 250 grand a week. That's a lot of wages to pay out as well. But he's only 26 and he's one of the best in the world, so you can understand it. Let's see how it develops. But as for now, I think we're more focused on getting that midfielder in, and Baleba would be a huge deal to do. And to do that, we've also got to focus on outgoings, the Garnachos, the Sanchos, all that stuff. But just a little bit of, I'll bring that in actually. Speaking of outgoings, I want to talk about Jadon Sancho's situation. So this is coming out from Alfredo Pedula. Inter have inquired about Jadon Sancho's situation at Manchester United through an intermediary. Adeola Lookman remains the priority, but Jadon Sancho is the top alternative. So there is definitely interest in Sancho from Italy. Juventus, we already know about. Inter are now inquiring. I really hope Ademola Lookman falls through, so they go for Jadon Sancho. We need that money in. We've already had the 5 million penalty fee. I think off Chelsea, I think United are willing to let him go for as little as like 16 million now. I mean, that's a bit embarrassing if you're Jadon Sancho, to be honest with you. Nobody is really coming and knocking the door down for Jadon Sancho. I understand his wage demands are huge, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. My theory is that he would have taken that Chelsea contract. I think it was a gentleman's agreement to put it out there that he didn't take the contract to save face from the fact that Chelsea didn't want to keep him on, and would rather pay 5 million than paying 25 million to keep him. I genuinely believe that. They wanted to go for Gittins, they want to go for Garnacho. They had interest in Garnacho from January. I don't really think that they wanted him, to be honest. And I think Jadon Sancho needs to go and play football. It's mad because I still believe he's talented, but there's been some decisions over the years that have, I think, cost him. I think United handled his development poorly, but I think he handled it equally as poorly, if not worse, in the way that he went about things. So I just hope he can go. I really hope he gets a move. For Man United's sake of bringing money in, and the fact there's another club involved in Inter, let's see. The thing is with the Jadon Sanchos and the Antonys is there's nothing concrete coming out. There's bits and bobs like this club's interested, that club's interested, but we're nowhere near completing anything for these players. What gives me a little bit of hope is that there was barely anything in Jack Grealish going. There was a few murmurs that Everton wanted him, and then today it's here we go. From Romano that he's gone to Everton with a £50 million buy option. So I'm hoping that if a club does start to sniff around Sancho or Antony, a deal can get done pretty quickly, because I know for a fact Manchester United just want players out the door now and they want to get money in. So Sancho is one that would be willing to take a cut on just to get him out the door. Let's get him gone ASAP, and I think we'd be willing to definitely bend on our valuation of him to get him out the door. Antony's going to be an interesting one, and we know Garnacho's going to go to Chelsea. It's just a matter of time, and hopefully Chelsea pay what he's worth, because I do believe we should get the most amount of money out of Chelsea, and we shouldn't just let them bully us again like we have done in the past. However, it is Ineos this time. They've got a new strategy, and hopefully they can stand firm on this. And I actually have a feeling that they will get a good fee for him. I think they will negotiate well on that one. Sean Buxani says, this is like Ollie's first window, just that we're paying normal prices for players instead of 50 million for Aaron Wan-Bissaka and the fridge. Oi, Harry Maguire calling him a fridge, obviously you can do what you want, but Harry Maguire's been stonewall recently. Harry Maguire went for a period where he was poor, of course he did, but his resilience to come back, and I think he's been really good for quite a decent amount of time now. Mojo says, signing Donnarumma would also mean we sell Onana. That would help. Of course it would help, but you've got to have a willing buyer. You know, you've got to have a willing buyer. It's like, you know, I don't want to be disrespectful, but it's like trying to sell a car that's like broken down for the same price you bought it for when it's fully working, brand spanking new. No one wants to go and do it. And that's what United want to do. Onana, when we first bought him in, he was probably worth, well, we probably overpaid, but we paid 40 million. He's probably worth 30. He'd just come out of a brilliant Champions League final for Inter. He was doing really well. But since then, you know, that's a brand new, shiny car. Since then, he's broken down. He's been terrible for United last year, and the year before that, he was iffy. So he's inconsistent, and he's seen across the league as a pretty poor keeper. He had that bust up with Matic, where Matic called him the worst keeper in United's history or something like that. So his value has decreased, but United still want decent money for him. So it's tough to move him out of the football club. We have Ahmad saying, I've done that one, thank you very much. I've seen loads of people coming in talking about Baleba. Jow says, Baleba should be our #1 priority. We need more juice in the midfield. If you get rid of Sancho and Garnacho, you free up the wages for Donnarumma. Getting him sends a strong message. We are in this fight. Don't get me wrong, if we get Donnarumma and Baleba, that is probably the best transfer window in United's history. Like, you've got Cunha and Bumo, Sesko, Donnarumma and Baleba. That is just absolutely incredible. It's one of the best transfer windows it's probably the best transfer window that I've witnessed. Like, it'd be incredible. I'm not saying we'd go and win the league, because players have to, you know, get used to each other. Amrim's got to have time, but I don't think there's any excuse for Amrim not to get top 4 with that or get Champions League. You've got to get Champions League. Your goalkeeper's now one of the best in the world. You've got one of the best up-and-coming midfielders that is absolutely brilliant. You know, you've got 2 Premier League proven number 10s in that had mad numbers last year and were contenders for Premier League Team of the Season. You've got Sesko in, who all the top clubs were chasing and has been scouted as one of the best up-and-coming strikers. Things are looking pretty decent. Things are looking good. Ricky's got his opinions. He thinks we need better centre-backs as well, but Lenny Yoro's a great up-and-coming centre-back. De Ligt has still got more to give. Maguire's got that experience. We've got a good team going there if we did it, but it's just... I do not think we'll get both. I think I'd be absolutely over the moon if we got one. I still think Baleba might happen next year, and Donnarumma, I think, it's something we've got to look at, but there's a lot that needs to happen for that to go through. The wages are big. you know, the Onana situation is difficult. I really think we won't be able to move Onana out, and I don't see United having them both there at the same time. I think it'll be difficult to do either of them deals, but if I'm more confident on one of them, I'm more confident on the Baleba one. We've had Ornstein, we've had Romano, we've had Ben Jacobs talk about United going for Baleba. We had a great update from Romano last night saying United are still going with the Baleba thing. I am a Baleba, and I think Baleba is the most likely one to happen, and I'd be absolutely buzzing with that. If we have to hold on one more year for a keeper, we do. If you get Baleba, I'll take another year of needing a keeper. I'd take that. Woozy says, fun question. Who would be a midfielder that you think we get linked as a backup that would be as bad as when Nicholas Jackson would be linked to us? Who would be a midfielder that you think we get linked to as a backup that would be as bad as when Nicholas Jackson was linked to us? When we got linked to Ndidi, maybe? When we got linked to Ndidi of Leicester? I mean, Ndidi was great at a point, but way past it now. Emily Derry says, you get a keeper like Donnarumma or Martinez, then Onana has to look at a move away. Yeah, he does, but it's not guaranteed. I like your thinking, Emily. It's very positive, and you would like to think so, but are United in a financial position to take that gamble, as well as going getting a Baleba? Tom McBride says, Fergie hardly ever signed a striker outside of the Premier League, and look how that worked out. I have a bad feeling about Sesko, but I hope I'm wrong. Van Nistelrooy came from the Dutch league, and I've got a few other chats say PSV. Haaland came from the Bundesliga. United don't have a great track record with Bundesliga players, I'm going to be honest, but Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland came from the Bundesliga. Like, you know, they are two. Like, Haaland's probably the best striker in the Premier League alongside Isak, and Kevin De Bruyne is one of the best midfielders we've ever seen in the Premier League. They both came from the Bundesliga. So I don't think you can tar Sesko with that brush before we've seen him play. Did I think Ollie Watkins would be a safer bet? Yes. But Sesko's got a greater chance of having that longevity, and he's probably got more potential to hit the highest of the height. So let's just hope with Premier League proven Cunha and Mbeumo behind him, he can kick on. I said on my shows, I wanted Watkins, but I'm not going to go against Sesko now. I hope he does really well, and I definitely see the potential there. I really hope he smashes it, and having that Premier League experience behind him nurtures him and helps him. But people are going to have to be patient with Sesko. People are going to have to be patient. You're going to have to give him a little bit of time. You're going to have to give him a bit of time to adapt. But that is where your Bruno Fernandes Premier League experience captain comes into it. That's where Mbeumo and Cunha, 25, 26, I think they're both 26 now, 26 years old, Premier League experience, know how to score goals in the Premier League. That's where they come into it as well. So, yeah, Sesko's going to need time, but I think he will do well. I'm hoping he'll do well. Vinny says United should be keeping tabs on Seattle Sounders keeper Andrew Thomas. Another clean sheet last night, and made saves Onana would have let in 3 million max. Thank you for that. I'll make a note of that after the show and go and have a look. Thank you, Vinny. Very helpful. The community, your knowledge is fantastic. Lynn says Baleba can do everything in the midfield. Back to back or defend or CDM defending, depending on who he's partnering. He's versatile. He's great at both. Reason we need him. Box to box instead of back to back. Sorry there. Thank you, Lynn, for your super chat. I agree with you massively, and that's why I think, remember the quote, everyone. Remember the quote. Take it into your other shows when you come when you go on the shows. If you don't buy right, you buy twice. Remember that. And we could be go and pay 50 million for a midfielder this year and need another one next year and go and pay another 50 million. We've still not got the one we need. And you could have just paid the money for Baleba. So just remember that one. Just to finish up the show, I'm going to read you a Sesko quote that I think is really exciting. In his Manchester United interview, Sesko, on his ambitions at Manchester United, is we just get better, we connect together in general, and we as a team, we just try to grow. We grow together step by step because we're getting better. We're just even more complete and complete. It's just a matter of time until we can fly high again. It's a super positive attitude to have. I love the fact he said we can fly high again. And I love the fact that he's speaking about the team and growing as a team. He's not an individual. He's a team player. And that's exactly what Manchester United need. He also spoke a little bit about his role model being Ibrahimovic, which I love, because what I would do to see Ibrahimovic in the period that he's at Manchester United again. I mean, even prime Ibrahimovic, could you imagine? And obviously he's got so many years until he gets to his prime, Benjamin Sesko. But Ibrahimovic, for me, is one of the best strikers I've seen play live. Like, he's fantastic. It's exactly what United need, a bagsman, and I'm hoping Sesko can bring that energy to Old Trafford. I really like it. Last super chat before I say goodbye. Ian Tracy says, I think the only way to get Onana out is to get his replacement in first, but Baleba has to be a priority. He could define our midfield for 12 years. Exactly. Baleba is 21. Can you imagine? People go until they're 35 nowadays, if not even more. Look at Luka Modric. I'm not saying he's going to be a Luka Modric, but you know, these things can happen. Bruno Fernandes is 31, I think, and he doesn't look like he's stopping anytime soon. It's exciting. I'm massively on the Baleba train. I've boarded it. I'm setting off, and if it doesn't happen, I'll be gutted. I've sort of convinced myself it is going to. Positive manifestation, guys. How long have I been saying Baleba for? And I know other people wanted Baleba, but we just didn't think it could happen. We just keep putting it out into the atmosphere, and it'll end up happening. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video if you've not already. Make sure you stay tuned for any breaking news. It'll be here on the United Stand, and we'll be back for the 8 p.m. show later. Goldbridge on the 8 p.m. show, doing all of the latest Manchester United news. Stay tuned for that. Also, if you've not seen it already, he's gone and done his Premier League predictions on That's Football. Go and give them a watch. I watched it before the show. Arsenal winning the league. Are you having a laugh? Are you having a laugh? They're not going to do it. I might do my Premier League predictions. I might do mine. Anyway, I'm going to go, but I've just seen a quick super chat in from Henry, and I don't want to miss it. Hi, Beth. There's a tweet from a sports journalist, Nicolo Shira, that Man United are set to submit a Brighton bid for Baleba. Is there? It's not popped up for me, and I've not seen anything come on. Let me just have a look quickly. You're just trying to prolong me, aren't you? Are you trolling me? I cannot see it anywhere. If there is one, it would have popped up because I have all my alerts on. And if there is one, we'll come back to you with a breaking news show. Of course we will. Thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you on the next one.